You believe you are choosing. That belief feels natural, comforting, almost sacred. Every day you decide what to buy, what to believe, who to trust, what to ignore. And because the decision feels internal, it feels free. But freedom is not defined by the feeling of choice. It is defined by the range of choices you are allowed to see. This is where the illusion begins. The illusion of choice is not about control that feels forceful. It is about control that feels personal. You are not told what to do. You are guided toward what seems reasonable. And because the final step feels like your own, resistance never appears. The human mind equates choice with freedom. If there are options, the mind relaxes. It assumes autonomy exists, but multiple options do not guarantee freedom. Sometimes they are the very tool that removes it. The illusion of choice works by narrowing possibilities quietly, then allowing you to select from what remains. You feel empowered, but the outcome was decided long before you arrived. This is not a theory. It is a psychological pattern deeply embedded in modern systems, relationships, and everyday life. You encounter it when buying products, consuming news, choosing careers, even forming opinions. The mechanism is subtle, layered, and extremely effective, because the brain does not question what feels voluntary. The first stage of the illusion begins with framing. Framing determines how options are presented, not what is true, but what is visible. When information is framed in a certain way, the brain does not see alternatives outside the frame, compares only what is placed in front of it. This is why two people can look at the same situation and reach completely different conclusions, both believing they chose freely. They did not choose freely. They chose within different frames. The mind is not built to search endlessly. It prefers efficiency. When presented with limited options, the brain assumes completeness. It does not ask, "What is missing?" It asks, "Which of these is better?" And in that moment, the illusion locks in. Consider how often choices are presented as binary. This or that, yes or no, left or right. Binary thinking simplifies complexity. It reduces cognitive load. But reality is rarely binary. When options are reduced to two, the brain feels decisive. Feels confident, yet the most important option is often excluded entirely: the option to refuse the frame itself. This is why the illusion of choice is so powerful. It does not need deception. It needs structure. The structure tells you where to look and where not to. Once your attention is guided, your decision follows naturally. Another layer of the illusion involves default choices. Defaults are the options selected for you if you do nothing. Most people believe they actively choose against defaults. In reality, most people accept them, not because they agree, but because opting out requires effort. The brain avoids unnecessary effort. This is not laziness. It is efficiency. When a system knows what the default will be, it knows the likely outcome. Your choice feels present, but the path of least resistance determines behavior. This principle appears everywhere, from subscriptions and settings to beliefs inherited from culture, family, and environment. The illusion grows stronger when effort is subtly punished. When alternative choices require more time, more explanation, more risk. Eventually, the mind stops exploring. It chooses what feels easy, what feels familiar, what feels safe. and safety often disguises control. Another mechanism behind the illusion of choice is social proof. When you see others choosing something, your brain marks it as acceptable. Not necessarily correct, but safe. Belonging matters more to the brain than accuracy. This is ancient. In earlier times, being excluded from the group meant danger. Today, the emotional system still responds the same way. So when choices are presented alongside social signals, like trends, popularity, authority, the brain aligns automatically. You believe you chose because it made sense. But what actually happened was alignment with perceived consensus. The illusion strengthens when disagreement feels isolating. This is why certain opinions feel uncomfortable to question. Even when doubts exist, the cost of questioning feels higher than the cost of acceptance. So the mind adapts. It reframes acceptance as personal belief, and the illusion becomes complete. Another critical element is timing. Choices presented when the mind is tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally loaded are rarely evaluated deeply. Decision fatigue reduces critical thinking. When too many decisions have already been made, the brain defaults to patterns. It accepts suggestions. It follows familiar paths. This is why important choices are often encouraged at the end of processes. After long explanations, after emotional buildup, the brain wants closure, and closure often comes in the form of agreement. The illusion of choice thrives when urgency is introduced. Limited time, last chance. Everyone else has decided. Urgency compresses thinking, prevents reflection. The mind shifts from evaluation to action, and action feels like choice, but it is reaction. The illusion is complete when choice is separated from consequence. When the brain does not immediately feel the cost of the decision, it assumes the decision was good. Consequences delayed are consequences denied. This is why the illusion of choice persists over time, because the feedback loop is slow. By the time discomfort appears, the decision feels too distant to question. The mind protects itself by justifying the past. I chose this for a reason. It made sense at the time. I had no better option. And sometimes that last sentence is closer to the truth than it seems. Not because no better option existed, but because it was never shown. This is how the illusion maintains itself. Now comes the uncomfortable part. The illusion of choice is not imposed only by systems. It is reinforced internally. The mind prefers certainty over freedom. Freedom requires responsibility. Uncertainty, risk. Choice feels lighter when it is guided. This is why many people unconsciously avoid true autonomy. True choice means standing alone with the outcome. The illusion offers relief. It says, "You chose this, but others would have done the same." It removes personal burden, and the brain accepts that trade without resistance. Breaking the illusion does not require rejecting all influence. Influence is unavoidable. It requires recognizing when choice has been designed rather than discovered. Awareness begins with slowing down, not reacting immediately, asking simple questions. Why are these the only options? Who benefits from this choice? What happens if I choose nothing? Silence is often the doorway out of the illusion. When you pause, the frame weakens. When the frame weakens, new possibilities appear. This is not about becoming suspicious of everything. It is about becoming present. Real choice feels different, feels heavier, less certain, less comfortable, but it is also honest. The illusion of choice feels smooth, polished, effortless. Real choice feels quiet, and sometimes lonely. That contrast is the signal. If a choice feels too easy, too aligned, too obvious, it deserves a second look. Not to reject it, but to understand it. Awareness does not remove influence. It restores agency, and agency begins with noticing. Before this ends, there is something important you need to sit with. The illusion of choice does not disappear when you understand it. In fact, understanding is only the beginning, because once you see how choices are shaped, you start noticing it everywhere, in the words you accept, in the decisions you repeat, in the beliefs you defend, without remembering when you chose them. And the most unsettling realization is this: some of the strongest illusions are not created by systems or authority or influence from outside. They are created inside the mind itself, quietly, patiently, over time. And once an illusion becomes internal, escaping it becomes far more difficult, because then you are not choosing against control. You are choosing against yourself. In the next part, we will step deeper into how this illusion locks itself into identity, relationships, and belief, and why intelligent minds are often the most vulnerable. This is where it becomes uncomfortable, and this is where it truly begins.